Hello and welcome to Sports Injury Talk presented by Regain Sports Drink and Momentum Fitness and Health. I'm Jason Venckus, a NASM certified personal trainer and corrective exercise specialist. Each time we talk, I'm going to take a sports injury that happened over the last week, break it down, apply it to our own lives, and talk about how we can both prevent and treat the same issue in our own situation. Over the weekend, you may have heard that 39-year-old tennis star Serena Williams withdrew from the French Open. She is one Grand Slam title away from tying Margaret Court's Grand Slam title record. Now, Serena's withdrawal marks the first time she's missed a Grand Slam final since 2006. And some feel that her time is running short to tie or break that record. After she withdrew, she was quoted as saying, "I'm pretty good at it still, and I'm still close to some things. So I feel like I'm almost there. I think that's what keeps me going." So why did she withdraw? The answer? Achilles tendonitis. So for real quick, I'm going to tell you what the Achilles is and how tendonitis happens. So the Achilles tendon is a tough band of fibrous tissue that connects the calf muscles to the heel bone, also known as the calcaneus. The Achilles tendon is also called the calcaneal tendon. Makes sense. So the calf muscles, made up of the gastrocnemius and soleus unite into one band of tissue, which becomes the Achilles tendon at the very low end of the calf. And we do have a graphic here for you today, so you can see it's right here, pretty much right in line with the ankle and right above that heel. There are also small sacs of fluid called bursae sacs, and those cushion the Achilles tendon right there at the heel as it inserts. So common causes for Achilles tendonitis are limited flexibility, age, underhydration, overuse, and muscle imbalance. Athletes are the highest at-risk population due to their sports requiring swift movement and quick stops. Basketball players, tennis players, and football players are the largest subgroup within that athlete group that will suffer from Achilles tendonitis, along with runners who may develop it from overuse, which of course we'll talk about. So what happened to Serena? Without being her actual trainer and being there is a bit of a history you can follow and kind of make a summation as to what happened. First of all, she's a mother. She's a newer mother, so she has more responsibilities. So time for proper training is likely more limited. I know this from experience. Second, she is 39, as mentioned before, and the age range for those most likely to suffer from Achilles tendonitis is 30 to 50 years old. So third is a sequence of events that may have caused muscle compensations. It all kind of works together to create that perfect storm. But muscle compensations are created when we have either an injury elsewhere or we're over tight in other areas, causing other muscles or tendons to work harder than they normally do. And then that ends up creating a pattern of overuse and an injury in that overused muscle. So listen to this series of events. On September 10th, she initially injured her hamstring during her semifinal loss to Victoria Azarenka at the US Open. 2 days later, she announced that she was skipping the Italian Open, good idea, to give herself additional rest before the start of the French Open, which is the season's final major. Williams did say on Wednesday when she withdrew that she decided to withdraw after trying to warm up for her match against Pirinkova and felt she needed to walk with a limp. So if you're walking with a limp, chances are you're playing tennis with a limp, and that sounds probably not like a good idea, right? She also was quoted saying, "I really wanted to give an effort here, and it's my Achilles that didn't have enough time to properly heal after the US Open." So this is what I think happened. It was just that perfect storm of multiple factors. And most times with an injury, it's it. We want to put blame on one specific thing, but it doesn't work that way. It's usually multiple factors. So tight hamstrings impact the functioning of the ankle joint subtalar joint, and increased tension in the Achilles tendon. As we mentioned, she had a hamstring injury at the US Open. So this will lead to overuse and extra stress on the Achilles. So this is an example of why it is important to address injuries or even prevent them from happening, which is, it's not always easy. It can be very, very hard. Because to achieve this, she needed proper rest, hydration, flexibility, and strength programs from her trainer. She did sit out a tournament, but maybe needed to sit out a little bit longer in order to heal properly. I guess technically she is. She's pulling out basically for the end of the year because her next opportunity to match Margaret Court's record of 24 Grand Slam titles is going to be at the Australia Open, which is the first event next season in 2021. So I guess it's kind of hard to pull out, you know, when you're so close to tying a record and it's the last one, you know, last game match of the season. So I just think that she probably needed a little bit longer time, and now she has it. Because as we age, it does take longer. I speak from experience, as her and I are about the same age. I'm a bit older. But I've been trying to heal from, or almost completely healed from, piriformis syndrome, and it's taken pretty close to a year to get over that. So anyway, what about us? Who is most at risk in our population? So those who are physically active and between the ages of 30 and 50 are the most likely to develop this issue. The Achilles tendon actually gets weaker as we age. And most people tend to get serious about exercising in their 30s, sometimes or usually after a bad physical for work or for your insurance. So also some people will pick up running in their 40s as risk of heart attack raises significantly at 45, and that can create an overuse injury or not proper stretching. All sorts of things can go into that, and we'll talk more about it. So in addition, a sudden increase, as I was just mentioning, in physical activity without proper training can also lead to this in any overuse injury, as well as exercising without a proper warm-up. So for those of us who get into exercising in our 30s and 40s and want to go straight into it, that's where we tend to see a lot of problems. So, and I kind of want to make a side point here, that you should use a certified personal trainer for at least 3 months when beginning an exercise program, especially one with a corrective exercise specialization, especially if you're a bit older. A very simple assessment can tell them where your muscles are tight or weak and address those imbalances before they become real problems, which is more prevalent in people who are starting exercise programs when they're a little bit older or just getting back into it. If you actually go to the store on my website, www.findingyourmomentum.com, you can actually find a version. We'll share that at the end. We'll share the website at the end. That assessment for is only $12 right now. So I can send you a personalized home workout. All you have to do is send me a video of you doing the squat assessment, which you'll get a PDF file with the instructions for that. That sale price is going to last until October 28th, and then it goes up to $25. So think about that. For just $12, you can get an in-home workout that you can do on your own that addresses all of your muscle imbalances. So moving on, in addition to what I've already mentioned, wearing high-heeled shoes for long periods of time can create Achilles tendonitis. I've actually had a client who had that for that reason, as well as piriformis syndrome, because your foot spends a lot of time in a plantar flexed position, putting a lot of stress on the calf and the Achilles tendon. And then one risk factor is rheumatoid arthritis. If you have rheumatoid arthritis, you are also at a higher risk for developing Achilles tendonitis. So what can we do to avoid it in our daily lives? Well, in any exercise program, you should follow a line of progression. Those who know me know that I tend to go off the rails a little bit when people ask me about Zumba. Oh, hey, you know, I want to get back in that. I want to exercise, or I want to get into it, or I've taken a long layoff. And Zumba looks like a lot of fun. While I believe it's important to enjoy the exercise you do, I also know that it isn't fun to sit on the couch when you jump into something your body isn't ready for. This happened to me. It was part of the reason I went into personal training and specifically corrective exercise, because partially my fault, partially the trainer's fault, we progressed me too fast, and I didn't say no. So that was kind of part of it. And I ended up with a 6-month injury when I was trying to transition from running for weight loss to running to compete. So a sudden start or increase in physical activity without that progression often leads to an injury. It's exactly what happened to me, and it happens to a lot of people. So kind of an example for runners: increasing your mileage too fast or adding hill work, or plyometrics in my case. Generally speaking, you should add no more than 10% to your mileage from week to week, and even cut back every 3rd week. With your hill and your speed work, add it in slowly, starting it once per week with shorter runs. So don't just insert a bunch of hills into a long run. Okay. Also, make sure that your shoes are appropriate for the activity that you're going to do. Make sure that the shoes fit your feet properly. Go to a specialized shoe store. Don't go to, like, I don't know, Payless doesn't exist anymore, but don't go to like some cheap shoe outlet and just grab a pair of shoes that look cool or, you know, are $25. You really need to invest in your shoes. Also, try to avoid shoes with stiff soles at the ball of the foot, as well as over cushioning of the heel, because those can also cause problems. Another major factor is excessive tightness of the posterior leg muscles, which include the calf muscles and the hamstrings specifically. So who is at risk for tight hamstrings? Well, just about every American. Because when we sit, and we sit a lot, it weakens our glutes and causes our hamstrings to work double time. So you can kind of see how our chain works. Weak glutes, which can be seen in that assessment that I mentioned, leads to tight hamstrings and calves, and then can lead to an Achilles tendonitis issue. So really, when you break it down, is your Achilles tendonitis is caused by weak glutes. You want to get further back from that, it's caused from sitting. I mean, because so many people sit for 6 to 8 hours per day, and then they go for a run to try and counteract the sitting, and that just tightens those hamstrings up even more. So if you do have a sitting job, try and get up every 15 minutes. I'm sure you've heard that before. And kind of move around. Stretch if you can. There's stretches you can do while you're sitting, or just even there standing at your desk. I stand a lot when I work now, so I'm able to stretch my hamstrings pretty easily. Now, your exercise routine should include strengthening your glutes and quads and stretching your hamstrings and calves. So it's important to know which muscles to strengthen and which to stretch to avoid Achilles tendonitis and other major injuries. So typically, though, people can have tightness in the right glute and weakness in the left glute. Therefore, their training program needs to specifically address each side in a different way. Because working both sides the same could still lead to other injuries. Typically, okay, you might help your Achilles, but if you're working out things on the same side, like let's say you're doing the 2-legged squat, you're making one glute tighter and one glute stronger, or that's what you want to do, but instead you're making both of them, you know, you're working them the same, and you're not going to stretch out the one that's tight. So you're going to make the one that's tight even tighter, although you are strengthening the one that needs to be strengthened. So that could lead to, again, things like knee injuries. One other thing with the hamstrings, don't sleep with your legs curled up. This is something that I have been working on, and it's helped a lot with getting over my piriformis syndrome, because this also tightens the hamstrings. I've heard the story a few times about in Russia, if you want your child to be in the Russian ballet, as a baby, as a small child, they lay their child flat on the ground or on a bed and stretch out and massage their hamstrings as babies. And being the father of a dancer, I understand how extremely important it is to be flexible, especially in the hamstrings. Okay, so keep those hamstrings nice and stretched. And lastly, Stay hydrated. Think of your body as a sponge. Same thing with your muscles. Without water, the sponge is brittle and stiff. Your muscles become very stiff when they're not well hydrated. With water, it's supple and flexible. And it's similar or almost exactly the same when it comes to your muscles, because our muscles are 79% water. It's a large percent. All right, so if you need help with hydration, let me know. I have a solution. So if you do have Achilles tendonitis, what should you do? Well, the number one thing is to cut back on your training and tailor it to address that injury, unless it's really bad, but we'll get into that. Skip days if you work out. Skip days if you work out every day, or even every other day, or try and work out every other day. Reduce your mileage. If you are still running, and I'll say if you're not training for anything, skip running. Let it heal. If you are training for something and you're going to be completely stubborn, training modification is essential to treatment of this potentially long-lasting problem. So cut back, or at least cut out your hill and your speed work. Just be happy that you're gonna, you're training for something and you're gonna run it. Okay. If you're not an athlete, just cut it out, the speed work and all that. You can also ice post-run will help, along with avoiding overstretching. It seems counterintuitive, but it's true. You want to avoid stretching your calf off the end of a step, for those negative calf stretches. Also, don't do that one where you put a towel around your toes and pull your toes back towards you. It's a great stretch, but you don't want to overstretch that Achilles. It's also a good hamstring stretch if you bring it up in the air. Okay? Just don't point your toes back if you've got an Achilles problem. So use the wall calf stretch and bend your back knee to get at the Achilles in a safe way. And then lastly, try to avoid flat shoes. So any kind of flats or walking barefoot when you have an Achilles problem, you want a little support actually in your heel. You don't want a 2-inch heel or 3-inch lift, but a little lift is good on that to help that heel, to help kind of relax a bit. Now, if it's really bad, you can't run, you can't walk, obviously you need to seek medical help. They can use electrical stimulation, ultrasound, and if they need to put you in physical therapy, they can give you some strength and flexibility exercises to help work that for you. All right, so again, if it's super serious, make sure you seek medical help. All right, so thank you for listening today. Make sure you visit our sponsors at findingyourmomentum.com for all of your personal training and custom nutrition needs. And then also Regain Sports Drink, which is a natural sports drink that you can find here in the Chicago area. It is 4 simple ingredients, no added preservatives, chemicals, flavors, sugars, whether artificial or real sugar are added to our drink. And in about a month or two, it's going to be 99.99% organic. All right, so in the coming weeks, we will pick another sports-related injury, break it down, and present it to you so that maybe you can avoid these same injuries and maintain your momentum.